Yo, what up? This is D-Night, and you're listening to the Pardon the Interaction podcast. My oh my, we've had so much going on. For starters, in case you missed it, we've got a new addition to the Pardon Pie family, Tara Doblin. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter at Tara Doblin Rocks. Also, pick up a copy of her book while you're at it. Make her day, The Sound of Settling. A very fun and interesting read compared to the things we talk about on this podcast. But yeah, we're heading toward the do or die time for the 2024 election. Go ahead and hit up joebiden.com. Get that man like $1 a month or something. Help his campaign staff up and get prepared to try and save our democracy. And make sure to grab like one other person you know and tell them about the podcast. Make sure they subscribe and tune in every single week. We got a lot of things coming up for you this year. We need all the support that we can get. So if you do your part and help us grow our audience, we'll do our part and help elect Joe Biden in 2024 and save American democracy. And this is the Pardon the Interaction podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo, what up? This is D-Night, and you're listening to the Pardon the Interaction podcast. We have friend of the pod, Tara Doblin, back with us. Hello, Tara.
Let me put this out. Let me put this question out to my fellow panelists then, who are talented writers, smart when it comes to politics, have a lot to offer out in the world for people to listen to.
There's an exceptional lawyer up there too, by the way.
Exceptional lawyer. There is talent and knowledge and wisdom and untapped gold mine financial potential here. And it's like you go out there and there's like fucking crickets and no one's buying. So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I have to do anymore where for a while I thought, being blocked by Trump, that's going to get me a deal. People are going to think that's awesome. No. And I don't know what it takes anymore. And now I have a book that has literally almost nothing to do with politics. And I'm like waving my arms frantically on all the social medias. I'm like, please buy this book so I don't have to do this shit anymore. Please. Seriously.
And speaking of selling your book, you have to tell us what it's about.
So I wrote a book. It's a rock and roll love story. It's called The Sound of Settling, and it's available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle exclusively right now because it's self-published. And I didn't want to self-publish because I had this idea that if I tried to self-publish, the MAGA people would ruin it, or so it was just not. They don't read, so they don't get. They're not buying Marjorie's books, so they were going to bother with.
Yeah,
mine.
I was going to say they don't buy their own books.
Exactly. So
that's what they have the RNC for.
Exactly. So, for people who don't know, I have a really cool and unique fan meets rock star story that nobody else has, which is back in 2001, before we had social media. I was really active on the Foo Fighters post board on the internet. We used to sit there and remember post boards and chat rooms.
I do. So, I remember being in Prince's and finding out he's actually was like heavily involved behind the scenes on his own board. Anyway, yes, continue.
But yeah, so AOL chat rooms and shit. And so I was really active on the Foo Fighters post board. I was married at the time. I had a 2-year-old, really little boy. And you get sucked into these, conversations. It basically, predates social media. Anyway, so
we all need to get sucked up sometimes.
Sucked into whatever. Maybe I smoked a little weed before I came on. Anyway, so back in August of 2001, the Foo Fighters did a secret show at the Troubadour in LA just for people who were signed up on the post board. And they had a contest and you had to sign up for the contest. And if you won, you had to get yourself to LA, but it gave you a spot in the show. And I was living out here. My ex-husband and I moved out here from Georgia, and there's like 40,000 registered members, and I entered the contest and thinking, what, I'm not going to fucking win. And so I was I won one of the 250 something winners who went. So I went down there, and this is, thank you. It was put your name in a thing and it was random. So I didn't have to do anything. And this is literally a month before.
You did it.
But congratulations, you and 284 people. So, but this is like a month before 9/11, and I flew down, and it was weird because when I told my friends what I was doing, they were like, "You're gonna go meet people from the internet? That's weird." Because I was gonna meet people that I'd been chatting with on the Foo Fighters board for like 2 years at this point. And back in 2001, people would be like, "You're gonna go meet someone from the internet? That's weird." I'm like, "I'm someone who talks on the internet, and I'm going." And now, if you tell people, "Oh, I met somebody, but they don't have a Facebook, they're not on social," people are like, "That's weird."
Yeah, that's strange.
You're supposed to vet them if they're not online. So that's how far we've come. But anyway. So we went to this. So there's this secret show at the Troubadour in LA, and it's very tiny. And it was my very first ever Foo Fighters show. And I was right in the front, and the Foo Fighters came out and they sang their first song. And you know how girls go to concerts and they're like, oh my God, the lead singer totally looked at me. So, oh my God, the lead singer totally looked at me. But
that's me.
He looks at me and then he goes, I know who you are. And I was like, what? No, you don't. What? That's stupid. Why would you know me? What? And then later he said my name. And I was like, what in the actual fuck is happening? Like, why would Dave Grohl know who I am? This is the stupid. It's not like we can talk to Mark Hamill on Twitter now. You know, it's not like it's not like Dave Grohl was on the Foo Fighters board going, hey, ladies, I'm single right now. Let's talk. It was not. And I was married. Again, married. I was married with a 2-year-old. So after the show, I got backstage and I meet him and I'm like, how do you know who I am? And he wouldn't tell me. And to this day, 22 years later, I still don't know how he found me on a post board of 40,000 something people. Wow. I don't know why. He never told me why. I don't know. But what I do know is that he asked me to go out with him for something to eat after that show, and I couldn't go because the next morning I was flying home to Portland to my son and my husband. And believe me, if I didn't have a child, I absolutely would have gone.
Yeah, fuck a husband.
I don't make any bones about that.
Yeah, that's subjective.
Husband's totally unimportant. Kids.
Oh no, I was miserably unhappily married. Miserably unhappily married. It's a miracle I had a second child. Seriously a miracle that we made it as long as we did. We were very
but that
not
could have
a
been
good
Dave
match.
Grohl's child.
My second child? Dave Grohl has 3 lovely daughters now. So it's fine. It's all meant to be.
He could have had
his
4.
3 lovely daughters. I will always say I married the wrong man, but I got the right kids. Anyway, so I couldn't go out with him. And then anytime I would see him subsequently, we would always, flirt a little, hang out a little. But, the second time we met, he called me his internet crush, which is nice. But then he left with the woman who's now his wife and the mother of his 3 daughters. It's fine. Nothing has ever happened between us. No bodily fluids were ever exchanged. Believe me, if I ever hooked up with Dave Grohl, I'd probably have it tattooed on my forehead. Nothing ever happened.
Okay.
So and it's kind of cool, actually.
Don't worry.
Because I like
Dave Grohl's wife is not listening to our podcast.
I'm pretty sure she's not, but hi, Jordan. If you are, congratulations on being married for 20 years. I hope you're all having a great time. It's sad. They've gone through a really hard time the past couple of years. Dave Grohl lost his mom, and then Taylor Hawkins, the drummer, died. And it's been really emotional and really bad. But anyway, so, and, throughout the years, I saw him at several Foo Fighters shows, but the last time I saw him was I spoke to him was in 2009, and I haven't seen Foo Fighters since 2015. So it's not like it's my life or anything, but I always would think in the back of my mind, wouldn't it be kind of a cool story if I could have gone? What if I could have gone? What do you think would have happened if I didn't have a kid and I could have gone? Just, And so then in the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, well, I'm sitting here by myself. So I need to figure out something to do. And I thought, hey, remember when I thought about doing a book about that? I'm going to try that. And so I wrote a book about a woman who wins an unhappily married, childless woman who wins a contest to see her favorite band. And she's got a crush on the lead singer. And she's going to use this contest as a way to leave her unhappy marriage. But instead, the lead singer calls her out from the stage by name and he asks her out and she can go. So she goes and she goes and they go. And there is sexy sex in this book. People say it's sexy. I was like, I don't want to talk about that part, but I wrote it and my mom even read it. So anyway, but
it's okay. We're sex positive on this podcast. It's totally fine.
Very sex positive. Like me in my life. Maybe next time I come on, we can talk about menopause. But right now, we're talking about the sexy stuff. So
I'm going through menopause right now. I'm like really hot every single night. It's miserable. Like I can't imagine.
Don't you hate those night sweats and your mood
great.
Swings?
I'm like, I got the air on like 67. I'm under nothing. Why am I sweating today? Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Honey, it's the hormones. I know.
Yeah, but I don't have ovaries. Why the fuck are my hormones all over the place? I don't understand what anyway.
Maybe you have sympathetic menopause.
That might be what it is. I am hitting that age.
Hysterical menopause. Like men can get hysterical. Anyway, the book is, and sometimes I tell the story shorter than this, but anyway. So the book is, she goes off with the rock star and she lives the rock star life for a little bit. And then after a while, she's like, hey, wait a second. I wasn't going to do this. I was going to do my own thing. I was going to have my life. And now all of a sudden, like I already followed a man through life for long enough. Why am I doing this again? And now if I leave, this will happen. If I don't leave, I'll just lose myself. And I think a lot of women go through things like this when they get married, and especially women who have had careers that mean a lot to them, or they were forging their independence in a way. And then they ended up, having to give up that path because they chose to stay home and raise children, which is a valid choice. I mean, I stayed home with my children for a long time before I went back to work. And so, women are just faced with a lot of impossible choices, and most of them come with having to compromise a lot of things that are important to us, and that we have to swallow things that are important to us and set aside things that are meaningful for us because we have to be accommodating to
Ty is great at
many
swallowing
other people, and we continue to come last. So
I'm kidding, Ty.
And I know Ty knows this feeling as a mother. I mean, we're already used to putting ourselves last, but when it comes to prioritizing our self-care, our needs, it's, if there's 2 pieces of food left on a plate, my son is looking at them hungrily, he gets both of them. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So when women are faced with impossible choices, it's like we don't win, regardless of what we choose, because if we choose to accommodate, then we're giving away our power. And then if we choose ourselves, we're being selfish, and we're not. Like when I got divorced back in 2005, people were like, why would you divorce a doctor? I'm like, well, it's none of your business, but I was unhappy and I made these choices. I didn't leave my children. I left my husband.
Right.
Judgy. Right. So women are expected to behave like perfect. It's like the monologue from Barbie. I don't have to do that for you. We've all thought it, lived it, felt it at one point or another, where it's like we have to be perfect, but we can't do this. We have to be this, but we can't be this. And so in the book,
I'm not a woman, but I totally feel for women being put in a position where all of your life's choices are a fucking prisoner's dilemma based on some societal rules that we just created out of thin air. It's
right.
And I would
Oprah
like to rewatch Barbie.
Right. I mean, America Ferrera has that great monologue. I mean, you can deconstruct that as much as you want, but Oprah calls it the disease to please, and that it's a societal disease, particularly in America. And of course, Black women, of course, have it a whole lot worse than any other as when it comes to acquiescing and making themselves quieter and smaller in this society and all societies. And I'm not the person to tell that story or write about it, but it's important to acknowledge that it's a universal theme, I think, for all women, regardless of where they come from. At some point in every woman's life, she is asked to be made smaller, to be quieter, to be not who she is for even a small amount of time, for whatever reason. And just when you are asked to do that, that's a piece of yourself that you're not sure that you're going to get back. And so in the book, she is faced with a choice, and I don't give the reader an easy answer at the end. I don't let them know exactly, it's a choice that, doesn't really have a pat answer. So what I say is, if there's an elevator pitch where it's Almost Famous meets The Way We Were on the Warped Tour, because it's set in the early 2000s. And it's a rock and roll love story. I wrote it all by myself, unlike Marjorie. Her ghost written crap book.
Oh, wait, I'm not clapping for Marge.
Printed on grifted MAGA dollars in Canada. Her book is printed in Canada.
If it makes you feel any better, your book is selling far better than hers.
I mean, my book is actually selling because, well, her book will sell because the RNC bought it in bulk. And she's trying to sell her book for $30. Can you believe that?
Ooh, that's insane.
30. It is insane. And I think it's the 4th book that it's Don Jr.'s
his publishing company.
It's called Winning Team Press. And it's in Canada. Like, tell me you're a shell company without telling me you're a shell company. Tell me that you're laundering money without just like bold. I mean, it just, honestly. And so, and it got it got such horrific ratings on Amazon, her book, that they shut off the ability to review her book.
Yeah, I saw that was incredible.
My book's getting 5-star reviews, by the way. So it is.
Well, that's because
my book is getting 5-star reviews. It's true. And my readers, they say they can't put it down.
You're an
They want a
exceptional
sequel.
writer.
Oh, it sounds
It's-
like it was sexy.
That's great, Tara.
There's sex. Oh, well, you can't write a book about a rock star and a fan hooking up without telling it. Like, there's sexy sex in it. Then there's like gross groupie sex in it. And so there's all kinds.
I mean,
It's all
I'm not
kinds of-
opposed to gross groupie sex, but
it's a
not
window
typically my
into
cup
the
of tea.
world, because being in radio for 5 years, I saw things backstage, not terrible things. I didn't see any orgies or anything gross or anything egregious. You hear
Well, now I'm
stories.
kind of disappointed.
Cocaine and sex parties. No, Madison.
No, that's
Cawthorn.
Washington. That's Washington.
It's funny you say that because
That's
there
at
was
Madison
that,
Cawthorn's house.
yeah, there was that brothel in Virginia that the feds busted a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure we're going to see some fallout from that eventually.
These people are so repressed, and the women are so subjugated, and the men are so repressed, and they've been taught to not honor their own sexual feelings, which are healthy and normal. They're told that their sexual feelings are not normal and should be pushed down. And that's why you end up with Lindsey Graham being compromised on a golf course, because he just hates himself this much.
Unfortunately, the only sexual feelings that they seem to not repress is the sexual feelings that they feel towards children. But yeah, anyway, we'll talk about well,
Well, it's just a projection. Like, you have Marjorie talking about wanting to protect children, and how many, I would love for somebody, I'm sure there is someone out there who's willing to aggregate the data. How many times Marjorie Taylor-Green has tweeted about children's genitals? She's obsessed. She uses that phrase, children's genitals, because she's gross and disgusting. And she's a groomer. I mean, it's a lot of projection from them, right? And so anytime you hear them talking about things, you really, really should look into it.
I mean, it's like
it all merits investigating.
It's like Ron DeSantis passing that legislation allowing schools to, inspect children's genitals. Very, very.
I thought that was Ron Johnson. No,
Wait, they did that in multiple places, didn't they? I think in Ohio, I think is one of the states they did that too.
Yeah, why are so many Republicans so interested in kids' genitals? I don't understand.
The brief amount of the debate that I heard between DeSantis and Studley Newsom, they were talking about. I won't ever not call him that. Talking about Ron DeSantis claiming that in California they are quote unquote forcing kindergarteners through third graders to talk about gender identity and all of that. And Newsom's like, no, we're not. We don't even have sex ed in California until sixth grade. What are you talking about? And then Ron DeSantis holds up a copy of the book Gender Queer, which is a very sexually explicit book, but it has like blacked out stuff. Like, he's got a copy at home that's not blacked out. Come on, freaky deaky. Come on, freaky deaky Florida fascists. We know.
Man.
I would posit that if all of these Republicans would just acknowledge their sexual feelings as normal, hopefully they're normal, as long as no children are involved.
Well, that's the problem.
For the most part,
they're fine coming out with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, they can point. They would love to point at Democrats and say Democrats are doing it or drag queens are doing it. It's never a drag queen. It's someone who's married to one of the Moms for Liberty.
It's funny you say that because typically we have a nominee for the Shithole of the Week award.
Ooh, go for that.
I don't think we need to take any other entrants this week other than Bridget Ziegler, co-founder of Moms for Liberty. So apparently she was caught in some kind of romantic tryst inside her marriage with a third party. And I feel like
Ménage à trois, I believe it's called.
Those are my favorite.
She's on the board of Disney. She was put on the board, but
she's one of Ron DeSantis' appointees to the board of Disney in that whole debacle. Yes. Well, she was there with Ron DeSantis as he was signing the Don't Say Gay bill down there in Florida, and then apparently, she immediately proceeded home to stuff her face with some pussy. And
wow. Okay,
and because of that level of hypocrisy, I mean, I don't know if it was like immediately after, but like in general, she's having her and her husband.
All right, ladies, the bill aside, let's go home and do
yes. I want to stuff my face.
Let's go home.
Yes, her and her husband are sharing a romantic affair with another lady, and for that level of hypocrisy, I hereby nominate Bridget Ziegler for the Shithole of the Week award. Do I have unanimous consent?
Oh, I give my unanimous consent for that.
Why not?
All right, Muff Diving Hoe Ass Bridget Ziegler, you are now hereby awarded the Shithole of the Week award. All right, kids.
It's not that she likes the ladies, is that she's a hypocrite about gay people.
Yeah, I mean,
like I have some other. I mean, is she cute?
She's blonde. She's a Florida blonde Republican, right?
She's like,
I don't like blondes. Next.
She's
never
boring.
look like you expect the ones that like to get freaky like that. You know what I mean? It's just like when you go, like you see stuff from a nudist colony, and they're usually the last people you want to see nude. You know,
it's
and
funny
then,
you say that.
I don't
yeah.
want to see anybody. I don't want to know. I mean, and the whole thing, like when you get someone like Lindsey Graham, I don't care how gay he is. He's probably one of the gayest gays in the history of gay. He probably has nothing but closets in his house. That's fine.
Suck all the dicks you want to. We don't care.
Every single one.
Yeah,
and I don't care. I could not care less how gay you are, as long as everyone's a consenting adult and nobody is murdered or hurt in any way. Cool. It's the fact that he has so much obvious self-loathing around it, and that's how he got compromised. That's how Donald Trump used his self-loathing against him to compromise him. I can like imagine them on the golf course that day where Trump, if you want a Trump impression, here it comes. So Linz, he's like teeing up. He's like, so Linz, terrible that video I saw. Terrible. 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 That got
exactly
out.
how it went too.
Yeah,
that's
just how
then he hit the ball. It missed the hole, and then he went over and he kicked the ball into the hole because he cheats.
Yeah, hole in one.
Terrible if that got out. A lot of people said it's a
no.
bad,
Trump
bad,
will be
bad
the one
thing.
to ask him, like, so have you ever been to Des Moines? And then
that is incredible. All right, yeah, you have Trump down to a T there. All right, kids, time for our closing thoughts. Carol, do you have anything that you would like to get off your chest this evening?
I mean, see, mine will probably end up tying into Tara's because I know we set out a little bit of an outline, but I'm still, like we've talked about anti-Semitism to death, but like, no, it's still definitely on my mind. So I don't think I could get enough talking about it. It fucking sucks. Aside from just the overall horror with the state of the world, just like feeling like alienated against people with whom I thought I was politically aligned, my progressive friends, people I thought were allies. I feel like it's just been really hard feeling like I'm becoming like politically homeless for being a Jew right now, because the really left people seem to be, I don't want to say anti-Jew, but it feels that way. And people on the right, I'm like, so I feel like you're just still using me. I feel like I said the exact same thing last time, that they're using Jews as a cudgel against Muslims.
It should be said all the time because it's the truth.
Yeah.
So it just sucks. Like, and then I just been like afraid to bring it up with people because I'm afraid of finding out like how my friends feel about like Israel and Palestine, and like how, I don't know, I'm like afraid of how it's going to blow up relationships and I shouldn't have to think about that shit on top of like my overall safety. And
though like you being Jewish, like you don't have any control or influence over what Israel does.
Oh my gosh, we've got
anything to do with you.
Two blacks. I just realized that. Okay.
Huh?
That we're both Jewish?
I said we have 2 Jews and 2 blacks.
I like that balance.
Congratulations on doing math, Ty. All right, give us your
for those of you at home who can't see us.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Audio medium only. You can't see. Okay, Ty, after you, your closing thoughts. Go.
I am really. I'm just so disgusted and disappointed with mainstream and legacy media right now, and their refusal to push back on Donald Trump. Their refusal to acknowledge the vile things that he says on a daily basis. And it's not even, I think it was Representative Goldman, and he was saying that, Trump's rhetoric is getting really, and I'm like, no, we crossed that Rubicon long ago. It's there. It's not getting there. And to say that, like, downplays the escalation that has been going on for the past 3 years, and how they just refuse to acknowledge POTUS's things that he's done, that Kamala Harris has done, what they're doing for the American people. It's like it's all negative, negative, negative. And then they go, I don't know why the Dems messaging is so off. It's like, you don't give the platform, you don't amplify what needs to be amplified. And you continue to amplify Trump. And I swear to God, I am so tired of them using the word firebrand to describe these disgusting Lauren Boebert, the Republican firebrand, Marjorie Taylor. No. The bigoted, xenophobic, racist cunts. That's what they are. Even the men, because British call men cunts too. So that, they all are. But I don't know between now and 2024 how we're going to get the momentum we need. And then with all of the, the far left or these Gen Zers and I'm not voting for Biden, I'm not going for Biden, voting for Biden. And it's doing my head in, like, on a daily basis. And it almost we've been pushing, rocks uphill, but now it's a fucking boulder, and we're not even getting anywhere because we can't get the footing and it keeps sliding back. And then, we think we're making a little progress, and we can try all we want to push on our posts and whatever and amplify each other on, POTUS has created this many jobs, but if we're being deboosted by Elmo, we're yelling at the clouds. We're just yelling at the clouds. So I don't know what it's going to take. And MSNBC, it's like they're playing both sides of things. There will be a moment where, you'll have Joy Reid or Nicole Wallace and, Joe Scarborough and Mika have been getting a little bit more aggressive in their rhetoric and condemning Trump and his rhetoric and the GOP and like they're a shit show, And here we've got Republicans talking about wanting to send us in to fight Hamas, but we've got a military that's missing their service leaders. So are we going to send our troops who are demoralized, and then the other, that half of Congress would be fine if they didn't get a paycheck, and sitting United States senator saying this is the weakest military ever. Like, it's just, and they just keep going every time I see Tuberville. And it's just giving him a platform without saying, dude, you're a fucking coach. You have not served. These people have served our, the military was integrated, however many years ago. Women have been serving in the military for 70 years. It wasn't yesterday that all of a sudden they woke up and decided that women and Black people could be soldiers. And they have dropped the ball in so many ways, and from print media to, television, the news. It's just all whitewashed and generic, and it's too much, and it's just getting so incredibly frustrating on every level.
That's okay. That's why everyone will have the opportunity to listen to Pardon the Insurrection. We're going to fix all that shit and fuck the media up because they're doing a horrifically terrible job. And they're going to doom us all. And Trump's going to make sure that they're targets number one on the list.
They're the first to go.
Yeah.
It's like, how do they not know that? Like, do you really think that by, pandering to him, that it's going to turn out well for you? No.
Absolutely not. All right. As for my closing thoughts, so the other day I received and I imagine someone really went out of their way because they sent a message through our podcast website, pardontheinsurrection.com, if you haven't checked that out. And I'll just, read the message for you here. It says, and this is from M. I'm not exactly sure who this individual is, but the question is, how many more Palestinians do I, as in me, want to die? And I assume he agrees that with that former Obama aide who wants children killed. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I don't want any Palestinians to die. Absolutely zero. I also didn't want any Israeli citizens to die on October 7th. I didn't have any control over that either. But I can absolutely tell you who does want Palestinians to die. Hamas does. That is why they've spent decades integrating their operational capabilities and their bases of operations, in intertwining them with civilian targets. And they spent all of this time planning on inciting a war that Israel wouldn't be able to step down from or back off from because of the, horrific attack that they engaged in on October 7th. And they knew that the second that Israel engaged in offensive forces in Gaza in response, that the first thing would happen would be civilian deaths. It's not like the United States where we have our military bases totally separate from our, civilian areas, our towns and cities and whatnot. No, like Hamas did the opposite. They're already in a highly populated, densely populated area. And then they go out of their way specifically to make sure that should they happen to face any type of military offensive threat from Israel, that as many civilians will die as possible. Israel's not totally innocent in this. Like, they should be circumspect in their use of like artillery, missiles and such in carrying out their offensive. That's totally fair. But I mean, I don't know what you want them to do. Like, you think about 2001, the horrific attack on the towers, 9/11. Like, yeah, we had to go to war. We had to wipe them motherfuckers out. And we didn't necessarily do the greatest job when it came to mitigating civilian casualties. The difference here in Israel is like having Al-Qaeda living next door to you. Like, imagine you live in Boston or something and Al-Qaeda has control of Philly. Like, it would be totally different set of circumstances, and having to organize an offensive operation where you have to eliminate this threat and manage the loss of civilian life. I wouldn't want to be in charge of that. It's probably an impossible fucking task. Like, I don't envy anyone in the position of having to make these life and death decisions about, is it worth attacking, this underground bunker that's next to a fucking school where there might possibly, like, I don't want to have to make those fucking decisions. And I'm sure no one in Israel does either, but Hamas put them in a position where they have to. And we should definitely condemn the unnecessary loss of life caused by all the. You know what? Let me put it another way. I'll tell you exactly what my position is on Israel and Gaza. I support the people of Palestine. I also support the Israeli people. I want Hamas destroyed, but yes, the military in Israel is taking too many civilian lives. But also Hamas puts as many Palestinian lives in harm's way as possible. I want Netanyahu to lose his job and go to prison. I also want Israel to have the capability to defend itself. I support a free Palestinian state, but I also believe in Israel's right to exist. I support the Jewish community. I also support the Arab people and the Muslim community. I think Biden should continue to send as much aid as possible to Gaza and the Palestinian people. And I also believe Biden should continue to aid the defense of Israel. And I hope that clears up where I stand. Tara, after you.
Done. Well, I have to follow that. Okay.
Sorry. Hate to put you on the spot, but this is what you signed up for.
I did. I mean, I listened to every single one of you, and every single one of you made points I agree with, because that's what's happening. You all spoke truth to power as to what's happening and voiced your frustrations as to feeling powerless against them. And I think everyone can relate to those feelings because it's absolutely overwhelming. And when you're talking about the Middle East, everything that you just said is correct. And they could all of those things can coexist and be true at the same time. Absolutely. So, I mean, I am a Jewish American. I'm not religious. I don't believe in any religion. I think all groupthink is dangerous. And I think that if your individuality isn't honored, then you're not in a group that you should be in. You should be in a group by choice, not because you're indoctrinated, not because it's a cult. And I agree that President Biden is doing an amazing job in the face of the impossible. And everyone needs to remember that the president of the United States is not a magician daddy who can snap his fingers and fix everything yesterday. I understand everyone's really frustrated, but if you look at the facts of how Joe Biden negotiated the release of hostages, he began working on that immediately. He just did it behind closed doors. And just because he's not sitting poolside at Mar-a-Lago throwing around classified documents to impress the Australian prime minister does not mean he's not doing anything. It just means you're not seeing it. And that's exactly how our government is actually supposed to operate. They're not supposed to do everything in front of us, because if we knew everything that the government did, we would lose our fucking minds. There's a lot. There's a lot that they don't tell us, and it's for our protection so we can all go to sleep at night and feel good about leaving our houses every day, or as good as we can. So I would tell people who just listen to everything that we said and they ask how do you not lose hope? You don't lose hope. You lose your reserves of hope, and then they get refilled is what happens. You know, think of all of your insides as a pitcher of water. And every time you pour a little out, and eventually that vessel is going to get emptied and you have to refill it, or else it's not going to help anybody. So anytime that you are feeling like, I can't do this anymore, it is okay for you to set down your social media and walk away from it. Perhaps read a nice book like The Sound of Settling by Tara Doblin, available now on Amazon. A nice rock and roll love story. But I'm serious in that even at a time where the entire world feels like it's on fire, and that all that happens is every single day a new drop of gasoline falls from the sky to make the fire bigger, we are still allowed to carve out moments of joy. We are still allowed to carve out moments of self-care. We are still allowed to reach out to each other and say, are you okay? Because I'm not okay. We are all allowed to do that. And that is the best thing that social media can do. Twitter's a fucking shit show, but there are still good people there. And 4 of them are talking to you tonight. Or today, or whenever you're listening to this. There are 4 of us. The 4 of us know a lot of good people too. And I would love to believe, first of all, not all of America is on Twitter. And I don't think that's a good representation of how the country feels. And there are still good people on Twitter, and good people find each other. We do. Good people will gravitate, just as the shitty people find each other. The good people find each other too. And let's all remind everybody that the good people won last time. We won in 2020. We also won in 2022. We keep winning is what everyone keeps forgetting. And if you look at our voting history, how we turn out and we show up, Republicans don't show up like we do. Republicans are all talk, babe. So, and a lot of what we're talking about is their scary talking points, because they want us to be scared, and they want us to leave Twitter, and they want us to be quiet, and they don't want us to be organized, and they don't want us to be motivated, and they definitely don't want us to vote. They don't want to even let us hear Hunter Biden tell the truth. So if they talk out all sides of their mouths. Every accusation is a confession. Everything the House GOP is doing right now is a performance for an audience of 1 sitting on his giant diapered orange ass. They do not give a shit. I don't know why people vote for Republicans anymore. And I mean, if nothing lasts with you from anything that I say, I want you to go look at your American history and look at how many times a Democratic president has to come in and clean up the mess left by a Republican. Only every time. It's only every time. No Republican has left the country, but I don't care what people say about Reagan. Fuck him. The man didn't even acknowledge AIDS until he absolutely had no choice, and he was already showing signs of Alzheimer's when he did it. Okay? The rosy portrait that people paint of him is not accurate. Every single time a Republican is in office, a Democrat has to come in and clean up their mess. So, with the biggest one being Joe Biden have to clean up after the Trump circus. And he's doing such an amazing fucking job. So it's up to us, the good people who are mad about everything that we're mad about. It is up to us to hold the MSM accountable I made a video to call out Stephanie Ruhle. She didn't have to acknowledge it, but enough people saw it and agreed with me. So our voices can continue to matter. We just have to be louder than they are, because they think that whoever is louder is smarter and also has the truth on their side. That would only be true if we're the loudest ones. They don't have anything. They have scare tactics and fear because they don't have truth. Do you ever hear anybody saying anything positive about Donald Trump that actually exonerates him of any of the 91 charges he's facing? No, you don't. No, you don't. What you hear is a lot of goalposts being moved so that you start talking about a different game instead of the one that we should be playing. So I would also remind everybody that Donald Trump should not be the nominee for billions of reasons. Here's two. One that I absolutely love is, if he doesn't acknowledge that he lost the 2020 election and feels he truly won, then he's actually not eligible to run for a third term. So if you are a person who is pushing the false narrative that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, then he can't run in 2024 because he's already served 2 consecutive terms. In your mind, crazy. So there's one thing. If you want to keep pushing that one, that's one thing. If that's not going to take any hold, then just do yourself a favor and Google Donald Trump's court calendar for the next year, because he's going to be either sitting in or avoiding a courtroom for the rest of his miserable life, including into the fall of 2024. So when he's allegedly supposed to be on a campaign trail, he can't be. That's why he's dropping into a football game on a weekend where he's getting booed, or he's going to one rally on a weekend because Pawpaw's got to sleep in on Sunday so he rests up for court on Monday. He cannot go campaign. He can't. He is tied to the court for the rest of his miserable life. So if I were a member of the GOP right now, I would be giving Chris Christie a phone call and saying, hang in there. You're going to be the guy. They really have nobody else.
Right. Because I got to tell you, it's funny you point that out, because, well, we all know racist, sexist GOP America. They're not voting for no Nimrod or Haley.
No, they are not. No, they are not. And women aren't going to vote for her either, because she believes in a national abortion ban. She's not going to get the women. She's not going to. No, she's not. And it's foolish that she's in there at all. Just like Dean Phillips is not going to get to. What the fuck, Dean Phillips? Drop out, Dean. Drop out, Dean. You and Steve Schmidt, go away. Go back to Minnesota. Bye, Dean. Okay.
Let me tell you how well Dean Phillips' campaign is going. He's arguing with all of my friends on Twitter,
including me. Did you see me arguing with him on Twitter?
Oh.
He was like, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. He's like, well, we're on the same team. I'm like, really? I'm on the team voting for Joe Biden. Thanks for joining us.
I was going to wrap it up because we've had you on for like an hour and a half. I know you're probably exhausted.
Have we been on that long? I do not envy you having to edit this down, my friend.
No, it's totally fine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wait. I got to end it in our classic way. And that concludes this episode of Pardon the Insurrection.
Thank you so much. I've had the best time. I have had it's been wonderful. Everybody hang out with me on Twitter at Tara Doblin Rocks. I'm not going anywhere. We'll fight over the last floating door. I'm telling you, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. Although Elon owes me some money.
I purchased the book. I may read it. I'm not a big reader, but I bought it.
Please buy my book.
Yeah, we're definitely going to put the link in the show notes and for everyone.
I don't know how to go viral in a good way, but my book needs to go viral because I need a Hollywood producer to buy this thing. So it is such a struggle. I don't have a job right now. So it's rough times for a lot of good people. So please, even if you don't like reading, you know someone who does. The paperback is fabulous, and it makes a lovely Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa stocking stuffer gift. And buy it for somebody in Florida where books are being banned. I don't know, but it's on Kwanzaa. Amazon right now. Tara Doblin, The Sound of Settling. Thank you so much.